What's up, everybody? Cole Sands Fishing here. This is a fish report for January 30th, 2023. Let's get into this week's report. So this week's report is brought to you by my three bait sponsors. Yo-Zurian Hardcore. They're all I use when it comes to hard baits. I've been with them for a few years now. Love them to death. And I can't say enough good things about their product. And you'll hear me talk about it a lot this week. Fishco, my soft plastic sponsor. Definitely an innovative company. We're coming out with a lot of cool stuff that I've had my hand in the last couple weeks, so I'm really excited about that. Then last but not least, Diamond Baits. Been throwing their Alabama rigs around the last couple years. They got a new swim bait head out too that I've been crushing some giants on, so I'm excited to see or let y'all see that. But that's who's presented by this week. Let's get into this week's report. So this week I ran 3 guide trips. Last week I took off because I got my boat and truck wrapped. It looks great. Riverstone Graphics did a great job. If you are in the market for any graphic design or anything like that, be sure to look them up on Facebook and give them a call. They're just north of Atlanta, and I was super impressed with the job they did on my boat, so I can't thank them enough as well. But so this week got out there and really just had some changing conditions. Tuesday the water was still super low, it was clean and pretty cold, and I knew it was going to be a great day for an Alabama rig and a single swim bait. So pretty much Tuesday I fished the whole day was spent fishing main river bends, in the channel, anywhere that current would come down and make a bend, and also creek channel bends. So definitely one of my favorite things to do. And we really relied on 2 baits. And to start off with, the first bait we were throwing was the new Diamond Baits jig head, and this was a 5/16 and a 5/0 hook. And what we were doing with this is we were putting a 3.8 inch Fishco OG swimmer on the back of it, Tennessee shaft, through some different colors, and paralleling these little river bars. Your boat might be sitting in 20 foot of water, but you're throwing up to about 5 to 10. That seems to be where the fish like to sit. If there's grass on the river bar, it made it a little bit better, but mainly it was anywhere where that river bar had a good swing in it, where that current and the bait could really come down and hit. And we did that to start with. Started the day with a few good fish. One of my clients caught one that was almost 4 pretty quick. And then right after that, my client in the back of the boat caught one that was pushing 8 pounds. And we caught a handful after that doing that. And then had to kind of make a switch, went in the creek channels, picked up the Diamond Baits 3.5 inch tightwad Alabama rig. We also were throwing the 4.5 inch Diamond Baits Alabama rig as well. Put a combination. We had some slim swimmers on, which I really like this from Fishco because you got a big bulk pack of them. The slim swimmer, I'll show it to you real quick. As you can tell, I like Tennessee shad a lot. You got a real streamlined tail, real kind of a real subtle action because the tail's so much skinnier. And then we're also throwing, to get a little bit bigger profile, we're throwing the OG swimmer on the Alabama rigs as well. Just kind of mixing it up. But doing the same thing in the creeks, looking for anywhere where the creek would go straight and then make a bend. Seemed like those bends is where the fish were stacked up, and caught some really good ones that day. I think we had another one over 5. Several, in that good solid 2.5 to 3 3/4 pound range. I think we ended up catching 16 or 17 fish in total, so it was a good day. We lost one good one that would have bumped our bag up to probably about 25 pounds, but we ended up landing about 23 pounds. It was actually a little bit over 23 pounds, so it was a really good day Tuesday. And then that night we had a ton of rain, and of course it muddied up the water. Everywhere I like to throw the single swim bait and the Alabama rig was kind of washed out. So we started Wednesday trying to make that main river bend bite work, and we caught a few, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 to start with in the first couple hours, fishing those bends with that Diamond Baits jig head. And I'm actually going to take this one out so you can really look at it. And what I think makes this jig head so cool, and that's the shape of it. And as you can see, there's a lot of edges, a lot of kind of flat, I don't know what you even call it, but there's several flat pieces around that jig head. And what that does, when you're reeling that single swim bait, man, it just gives it a great wobble. And got a bait keeper on it, which is always nice. And I love that hook design with the sickle hook, but it's a beefed up sickle hook. So man, when you hook a fish, I actually don't think we've lost a fish on one of these yet, and I've been using it for about 3 months now. So I'm super excited about that jig head, and I'm very happy to be using it right now. But been using it, and we started that morning and caught, I don't know, 3 or 4, and then had to make an adjustment pretty quick because we could tell that wasn't going to work for the day. So we looked at the creeks, just kind of got a feel for what the water looked like. Caught a couple on a blade bait, just throwing a little Demiki Volt. Also caught a few, still doing the creek channel bend deal, not with an Alabama rig, but with a Yo-Zuri Rattling Vibe 5/8, just because the water was starting to get a little bit muddy. I think we caught 1 or 2 on an A rig that day as well, but we quickly had to make that change. And what we did, we started fishing grass flats, because what I've noticed, even in muddy water, if you pick up like a Rattling Vibe or a chatterbait or something, you can still get bit in that muddy water, especially if you're ripping it out of grass and making those fish react. So ran down the river, fished a couple grass flats. It was pretty slow, but my client ended up catching a really nice one, about a 5.5 pounder. Caught on just a jackhammer chatterbait. What I've noticed this week, seems like the ones with the red in it are a little bit better. This is Heights Hot Crawl. We threw this one a little bit, but mainly the Fire Crawl seemed to be our best player this week. And then at the end of the day, we're about to chalk it up as just kind of a mediocre day. You know, we got on one little school right next, or on our way back up river, and it was kind of the same deal, just kind of a grass flat. And what I noticed with the grass flat deal right now, the water temp's pretty cold. It's mid-40s. The fish are kind of pulled off more in the ditches right now than up on it. And we got on one deal right at the end of the day, throwing that Rattling Vibe through the middle of a drain or a ditch, whatever you want to call it, depends on kind of where you're from. And caught them pretty good, you know, caught 7 or 8, had a good little flurry, and ended the day on a high note. Caught them on the Mac crawfish and also caught them on the Royal Purple Shad, definitely our 2 main producers this week. And I actually decided to stay out a little bit after that, just because I noticed that things were changing. And stayed out after that and caught a few, you know, the chatterbait flew in the trap. And then right before I left, I caught one that was almost 7 pounds on the Mac crawfish, Rattling Vibe. And that's been the 5/8 ounce size. Throwing the bigger size right now, especially when the water's muddy. I feel like it makes it, you know, they're more likely to eat the bigger profile than the smaller profile when the water's muddy. But then after that, Thursday, well, Wednesday we ended the day with about 20 pounds, if you count that big one I caught right after I dropped my clients off. And then Thursday we started off hot and heavy. It got really muddy by Thursday, and a lot of the stuff I was hoping that would clean up was pretty much unfishable. I went to my first spot and I said, you know, I put the trolling motor down and I immediately picked it back up because it was just too muddy for doing that swim bait deal that I like to do. But ran to one little spot, one little bluffy bank type deal. Picked up the Yo-Zuri 3DRX flat side crankbait. You've heard me talk about it in the past couple weeks videos. I don't have one in here right now. All my stuff's down in my garage. But picked it up, and it's this really cool little flat side crankbait. You can look at some of my past videos if you really want to see what it is. And throwing the red color, and right off the bat, one of my clients just started smoking them. Caught 5 or 6 like in the first 15-20 minutes. And one of them was a 6.5 pounder, which that was an awesome start to the day, especially because Thursday was a real cold frontal day. It was kind of after all that rain, and you know, there's a lot of wind, and I was a little bit worried honestly going into it. But so started off hot, caught those, had a 6.5 pounder, and then we ran around a little bit, hit some stuff. I think we had maybe a bite or 2 here and there, caught a couple more, throwing that same 3RX Yo-Zuri flat side crankbait. Then we got back in the grass again. I kind of figured, you know, we could probably go grind out a couple in the grass. Started doing that. Caught, you know, several, you know, keeper size fish, nothing too crazy. You know, had one close to 3 pounds in there. But doing the same thing, and it was all about, caught a few in the chatterbait, but really the Rattling Vibe, and the Royal Purple, and the Mac crawfish were definitely our main players. Had one little flurry, then ran around, and at the end of the day, had another flurry, caught, you know, 2 or 3, and had another 4 pounder. So end of the day with about 17 pounds, which was, you know, really good. I was really happy with the week, you know, to have 23 pounds, 20 pounds, and 17 pounds, especially with the changing conditions, and boated anywhere from 15 to 20 fish each day. So definitely, you know, solid days for this time of year. But, you know, looking forward to next week, I think it's going to be a lot of the same deal. You're going to have to kind of, you know, fish the conditions. If the water's muddy, what we notice, you know, stick to those red colors. I really seem to like them this time of year. If the water's real muddy, pick up that 3DRX Yo-Zuri flat side, get close to the bank, and, you know, really parallel stuff. And when I'm throwing that crankbait, you know, you want a soft tip rod. I'm always using my Witch Doctor Tackle Sermon Series rod. It's a half glass, half graphite. For that crankbait, I like a 610 medium action. I love the same rod for my rattling vibes, you know, the rattle trap style baits, except it's a 7.2 medium heavy Sermon series. Same thing for the chatter baits. And then when you're throwing the swim baits and the A-rig, you know, I usually go to kind of a beefier rod. Just the single swim bait's usually 7.2 heavy or medium heavy. The Alabama rig's a 7.6 heavy. I use the Shaman series for that. But that's pretty much it. I think it's going to be a lot of the same deal. If the water's clean, look for those channel swings, those little deeper banks. If the water gets muddy, don't be afraid to get real close to the bank and crank it. And if it's also muddy or clean, the grass flat bite is always a contender on Lake Chickamauga. But that's it for this week's report. I'm sorry it's a little bit jumbled. I got this little hound dog I'm still taking care of. I'm sure you probably photobombed the video a time or two. But got my season starting up soon as well, so I'll kind of keep you all informed. I'm hoping to video everything this year. But I can't wait to get started, guys. Good luck on the water, and I'll catch y'all next time.